Hi, I'm Regan.
And I'm Timur.
This is Baijiu Billabong.
Yeah, and before we fully begin, just like to thank the original custodians of this land, the Indigenous people of Australia. And so I'm a full-time desk jockey and designated agent of China by America. And Regan is...
I'm a licensed forklift driver by day and a history nerd, poor musician by night. So some people are asking for some perspective on where we're coming from here, but that's it. So
yeah, we're very much, as you can tell, very well educated. But since you're a musician, do you have any links to Whip Warrior?
Actually, it's funny you should ask. I have two Facebook mutual friends with the Whip Warrior.
Raymond
so
Kelly.
Was it Raymond Kelly?
Yeah, it's with an I. So he's a special Raymond. His parents like, oh, he's going to be a special kid, and he is.
He had like hipster parents, hipster broken parents before it was cool. So he lives in like the northern beaches, I think, or north of Sydney. And just when the COVID sort of hit Australia, he decided he wanted to go down to the Sydney Chinese consulate and crack a whip at anyone who was nearby. So there was like
the most bogan Australian thing you can do. He had like a Kruger, which is like a sort of
he did
Aussie
have
cowboy hat.
Yes.
And did he have any dungarees, or was he just like, I don't know. He just seemed so bogan. His whip, he said something hilarious. Yeah.
He was in AgCorp, I think they call it.
AgCorp. What's that?
Like agricultural.
Oh, was he?
You just put core on the end.
So, oh yeah. I know what you mean. Agricultural core. It's like a fashion. Has R.M. Williams and.
Yep. But there was quite a few people outside the consulate at the time. I'm not sure if they were trying to get in or out of the country, trying to get visa stamped or whatever. And he was probably, I don't know. To be fair, it was 5-10 meters away. But those things are loud and they're long, and he could just as well be an idiot. So he had to face court.
It's pretty funny because the fact that he was like trying to attack the building, I think, was he? Or because he's banned from the building now, or something like that.
So his bail conditions are that he cannot go within anywhere of a Chinese government building, I guess. So consulates.
Yeah. So you just imagine this sort of old Aussie bloke in sort of like a cowboy hat looking thing, whip. And he says like, so the direct lines he said, I quote him from the video. You can watch it on YouTube later. He goes, wake up Australia, no more shit from China. No more shit from China. Death to communism, filthy fucking commies. 5 million people leave your country. Spread the filthy fucking as well, like just SARS, swine flu, and avian flu. You've released all these viruses for decades. Anyway, he's just embodiment of Australian, like that North Coast, as you said. It's like Woy Macca's. You know, it's like this area from Brisbane to like Sydney. It's just this people on beaches, and I don't know. I can't describe it, but.
It's known as like a wealthy area, but it's also just like white suburbs, so it's like the Australia of the 70s, I guess.
Yeah, it's like Bondi, but like a whole like 500 kilometers of it. But
that's where all the worst of Australian music comes from, like all your white guys playing reggae and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, no, she comes from another similar area. She's from Mullumbimby.
Oh yeah, same thing.
So it's a hippie area. Anyway.
And that New Zealand shooter guy, he's from that area as well.
Was he?
Yeah, Grafton. Yeah, the most famous person. And the prison as well. Yeah.
The prettiest places of Australia breed the worst people, apparently.
Yeah.
So anyway, he had to go to court, and in anticipation of the court, a certain new news outlet called Himalaya, which apparently has ties with Falun Gong, organized a live stream while he was at court. And who was on board with
the lineup? Was amazing. So he was named Whip Warrior, Raymond Kelly. There's him.
Yeah.
Avi Yemeni, the
Yemeni.
wife beater guy, the Israeli.
Maybe it's fascist.
Yep. David F. Priest. He's just some random bloke. It looks like who also is a musician, I think. He's also labeled as Tank Man, Aussie Tank Man. I don't know why. I can't find any.
Self-labeled.
Is that why?
Definitely. He would have given himself that name because he thinks he's the person to stand up to fucking communism or something, you know?
Oh, I saw you like stopped the Commodore or something outside Canberra. He just stopped like Malcolm Turnbull's Commodore. No, he didn't.
That's delusional.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
And apparently he didn't accept your challenge to debate him.
Yeah, he didn't. He followed me. Did he follow you? Or?
Yeah, he followed me. Yeah.
He just follows everyone, but he doesn't really. He just posts the same sort of copy pasta CCP virus stuff. Very, very boring. Not compared to Whit Warrior. Yeah.
No, Whit Warrior's a character. But yeah, I think the interesting point was how these different people came together. Oh, and we should also talk about who actually was outside the courthouse when he went to court, which was a bunch of supporters. Well, we don't know if they're supporters or I guess they were supporters, but the point that I think they were trying to make was that they were there to also shit on China because that's what it was all about, you know.
Yeah.
And so there was a bunch of full-on gone guys there with placards and doing that mini protest. And then who was the other guy?
Nick Fox. So there's that article which I showed you. So the protesters support Raymond Kelly's release. So it was actually posted by Nick Fox here, and yes, his personal phone number, which you can find yourself if you wish. Please don't harass him. So Nick Fox, from what we know, is that he's an actual neo-Nazi.
Yes, openly. He wants to celebrate our riots.
Yep, there's photos of him with swastikas. He's very proud of it. I don't really know his background. Do you know anything? Or?
No, I honestly, looks like he's been around for a while. There's like old photos of him with Pauline Hanson and shit. Oh, Party for Freedom. So how long's that been around for?
I think a year or a bit.
Right. So in a way he's also a grifter.
But he's not making any money though. He's making these rallies are free. I'm pretty sure Raymond didn't pay him, you know.
That's a good point. So he had a little squadron there of Nazis with him, or patriots as they probably call themselves. There's also a bunch of counter-protesters from the Australian Communist Party.
Oh, the Australian Communist Party.
Story.
Not the Communist Party of Australia, like the Australian Communist Party? Or?
Yeah, I think it's called ACP, I think. You can find their Facebook.
No, I got a few good mates, I think. I can't remember which one on Twitter.
I'm guessing they're quite pro-China.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen Bree and Zach. They post quite a bit about it. But it's all very splintered, the left scene in Australia. Like, there's the Australian Communist Party Australia, and there's those Marxist-Leninist one.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's just so splintered.
But so yeah, they were there, which is how I found out the story. But
I mean, good on them. I mean, yeah, they
good on them, yeah,
and stood up against the Nazis in this case. Yeah, just surprised that he wasn't called out more. I mean, a lot of the articles just covering just basically stated what he did. No one really sort of condemned his actions. I guess whipping. He didn't really hurt anyone, but still.
Yeah, no, it was kind of treated as a non-story because it happened right at the beginning of COVID, so we moved on pretty quick. But you can imagine what the comment sections were, you know, when the Daily Mail reported it, and it's on Facebook, you know, like.
Oh, I saw a lot. It's like Crocodile Dundee, Steve Irwin, you know, just the usual stereotypes about people that look like that.
I was thinking
he does give up
more
that
racist
look.
sort of content, but
yeah.
At the end of the day, this guy really just he wasn't political until COVID hit, and then something's triggered in his brain, and he's decided he wants to be crazy anti-China. But what interests me in this whole story is, again, this connection between Falun Gong and then these fascist movements.
Yeah.
This is the first time we've seen like an organized conversation. You know, previously we'd seen like retweeting and stuff, this is something else. So, yeah, very strange.
Yeah, I mean, there was that Taiwanese One Nation candidate. She was also kind of fascistic. I think Lin Sanju, as you say, and she, yeah. So basically, her thing was she was too racist for One Nation even.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she ended up joining what's the other party? Clive Palmer's was one of those, and
Yep.
yeah, and
Another Queensland party.
And she had really strong connections with Falun Gong. You go to her Facebook, it's just all Falun Gong. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so it's interesting. Anyway, so there is some journalists looking at Falun Gong soon, so at the moment, so we'll just have a quick look at that. The drama that's been happening last week as well. There's consistent attacks on Hager Cohen, but recently there've been some more coordinated attacks on Brophy.
Yeah.
I think. Do you want to talk about the letter?
Oh yeah, so Xia Yan, which is his pseudonym. Apparently his real name is Peter Wu. He's the editor of Vision Times, and he's been the only thing he's been tweeting about the last week has been pretty much about David Brophy. Actually, he's just really angry at David Brophy for sort of, I guess, insinuating that they could be Falun Gong. Anyway, he posted on his blog, rocksfly.blogspot.com, which has an avatar. I'm guessing when he was way younger because he looks nothing like him now.
Yes.
It's a cartoon anyway. Maybe it's just what he wants to look like. So he basically the word Brophy comes up like at least it's directed to Brophy, so 18 times. And he just sort of there's a one part where he basically says, Brophy needs to watch out what he's doing when he talks to Chinese people. You shouldn't act all high and mighty, thinking you understand Chinese people. You need to actually live with Chinese people and get in. And that's just so you've talked to Brophy. He's not like that at all.
No, well, he's quoted in the latest article from Red Flag, which is extremely critical of China and Xinjiang. Yeah, and he's there. They use him as his main source. So, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. He's like they keep trying to paint him as some kind of red because Brophy's definitely on the left. He's a very left, politically left person. And so he goes on his article. He points all this stuff about how Brophy, has said a lot of very socialist-leaning things in the past. He's been part of various socialist groups and sort of unions and stuff. I mean, that's all true, but it doesn't mean that he's a communist member, Chinese Communist Party member. Nor does he have, affinity with it. It's just this is a guy who's, been looking at Xinjiang for most of his life, even before he became the popular subject. And he's just saying it as it is.
Job.
Yeah,
he's got a book on it, right?
Yeah. I mean, his whole PhD was on Xinjiang. He's literally probably the most qualified person in the country to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's just saying it as it is, and he's not exactly taking any sides on either issue. It's just he's not actually opposing the US view enough that he's getting attacked now. So
they've continued the attacks on him, Hager Cohen, and Ben Hurley's been copying it as well.
Yeah, they accused him of being a Chinese state actor because he once had a writing contract with a company that was affiliated with a Chinese state actor, apparently.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw the tweet, Alex Turnbull, who said that, the Hager Cohen had been played.
Well, Alex Turnbull, for those who don't know, is the son of former Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, who gave us the gift of the NBN, or the current NBN, the hybrid one. Yeah.
So if this recording is poor quality, it's not our fault. It's because the internet in Australia sucks.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's true. I mean, well, thanks, Malcolm. Yeah.
So, anyway. But Alex is now he must be some sort of stock trader or something in Singapore now. Obviously with nothing better to do than troll on Twitter.
Oh, he's very centrist in his views. Very centrist, radical.
Oh, absolutely.
He doesn't swing either side. His wife's also a Chinese national. I mean, ex-national, I'm guessing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's Chinese, and she's also the daughter of a very senior member of the party. It's very interesting because he was defending Falun Gong, who's against race mixing, and yeah.
Yeah, so he told me that he's Buddhist. So
Oh,
I thought it was pretty funny.
really?
Anyway,
Oh,
yeah,
Buddhist.
uh,
Guess he picked it up in Singapore. I don't know.
yeah, weird dude. Yeah, and there was an ABC foreign correspondent to Spain, and he was speaking up in defense of Hurley as well. And then he copped a little bit of shit from people. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's how it is.
So Hurley, he lives in Taiwan, which is basically the antithesis of the PRC. Is apparently also a CCP spy now. So yeah.
He featured in the ABC series as a former Falun
Epoch
Gong.
Times reporter as well.
Epoch Times, right? Yeah.
And
Sorry, do they have this some sort of weird conspiracy theory that he was an undercover CCP guy from the beginning?
no, it was like basically apparently he was co-opted after he left Epoch Times because he was welcomed by the CCP in it. So that was part of that thread. It's very weird because why would he live in Taiwan then? Because Taiwan is very serious about looking out for Reds or like comrades, as they say, Tongzhi, like Chinese spies.
Yeah.
So if there's one that's that obvious with all these connections, I'm surprised he's still allowed to live there. But maybe he's a double agent. Maybe he's like 007. You don't know. It's amazing.
Yeah, if he is a spy, he's a very public one.
Yeah, it just goes on like news stories and documentaries.
So I don't know if this is a reflection on the call it so-called journalism that is coming out of Epoch Times and these other Vision Times and stuff. It's pretty weird.
I mean, there was the Epoch Times fans. They were posting Japanese pornography, like the ones with like the how it's blurred out and stuff, and saying that was Chinese people raping Uyghurs.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they don't even care. Like it could be the most blatant lie, but eventually you'll stick on somewhere. Some idiot will believe it. Yeah. I mean, they do throw a wide net. I mean, most of these people that are retweeting these are not Epoch Times themselves. It's their readers and people who repeatedly repeat Epoch Times. They'll post like an Indian policeman beating up someone else, and it's like, yeah, this is a Chinese man beating a Uyghur when they both look Indonesian and speak Indonesian.
The video recently last week that came out, and it ended up being from Burma or something.
Oh yeah. Ian Miles Chong.
Oh right, yeah. God.
Definitely a guy who's been brain infested by Hong Kong propaganda, where he believes that the CCP has wiped out Cantonese from the mainland when there's 80 million speakers. So he's like, they don't speak Cantonese in China. They at least speak Mandarin or something, or he speaks Cantonese himself. Like, he's a Malaysian Chinese guy.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when you read too much Joshua Wong and Apple Times, Apple Daily, whatever the hell they're called. It's just really odd. Like, how did he get famous? I don't know.
I think it was Gamergate.
Oh, of course, he's a gamer.
Yeah.
It's odd because he never tweets about Malaysian politics, which is actually quite interesting in terms of corruption, Byzantine sort of alliances. Yeah, but so that Burmese one was actually a Chinese guy getting beat up by Burmese people, Burmese Chinese, for not being able to pay a gambling debt. Both of them do not look Uyghur. It's so obvious as well, Yeah. I mean, most people don't even know what Uyghurs look like anyway. It's some Uyghurs I've met. They look basically Han Chinese, and some look like Iranians or Turkish people. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a crossroads.
Yeah, but I've never met one that looks Cantonese or Indonesian, so that's not yet. Maybe there is. I'm sorry if you're out there, Mr. Uyghur person who does look Indonesian. Yeah.
So did we want to talk about that attack piece on Jerry Chiffon and Carl Czar?
Yeah, Coda by Isabel
Cockerell.
Yeah, Isabel Cockerell. She has the most British accent,
Oh, really? I didn't listen to her interviews. I just read her article where she accuses Isabel has labeled them all as influencers.
And genocide deniers.
Yeah,
of Xinjiang, as she says. What really angered me was when she accused Carl of, potentially being paid by the CPC and she had no evidence. Like Carl's just like, what do you have on that? And she's just sort of, people have said, like, okay. There's no, you just baseless accusations of like, of McCarthyism there, right there. Apart the fact that maybe Carl's Chinese, yeah. And
Yeah.
she also, attacks Jerry, who's been to Xinjiang a lot. He has posted a lot of videos on it. He's like the movement rider kind of guy of the Chinese community. He rides his bike. He's a very, how do I say, very wholesome kind of person in this political scene.
Yeah.
Very nice, very patient guy. And she's just going on against him. She's like, why don't you talk to Uyghurs or something like that? Have you not seen what's happened? And I just found it very rude what she was doing to Jerry there. Yeah. Yeah. And now she's retweeting Bellingcat, another federal mouthpiece.
Well, she's a grifter, and she's probably thought, oh, I can get a pretty cool job if I stick on this beat for a while.
Mm.
So I just back on Jerry. It's so funny that she called him an influencer. I just can't get over that word. Like he's posting like his hot festival photos on his Instagram or something, like and using face filter.
Yeah, he just writes like medium posts about cycling around China.
He literally just stumbled into the China discourse.
It's just interesting
But I
because he
guess-
posts all these pictures of places no one ever goes, like in Gansu, or like, the sort of outside the Great Wall. And you see all these ancient ruins he's just cycling past. And you're like, wow, this guy's cool.
His photos are incredible,
Yeah.
and I do want to get back to China, and I do want to do Gansu, and I'd love to ride a bike through there. It just looks incredible.
Yeah, definitely. He's inspired me as well. I think he's inspired a lot of people. He's definitely a very wholesome person. I just cannot see him. If he was, paid by CPC, which I really doubt. And she fun as well. It's also very hurtful as well because she actually was born in Kashgar,
Yes.
Xinjiang, which is the most heavily populated city by Uyghur population. 92% of the city is Uyghur, and she grew up there. and she's like, trying to tell Shifan, who's actually grew up and was born in that city, what Uyghurs are like and what Xinjiang's like, and it's just so weird. And it was just, yeah. I mean, the other day there was, what's her name, Ray Zhong, the Chinese girl who works at the Kennedy Institute,
Yep.
She had a rip on Gao Yang, poor Gao. He just gets attacked by everyone.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Did you see that? He just started calling him a genocide denier just because Gao posted some stuff about him really caring about his hometown. For people who don't know, Gao's Mongolian, and Xinjiang's separated into two halves. There's North Xinjiang and South Xinjiang. South Xinjiang's where the Uyghurs are actually from, in the Tarim Basin, where the Silk Road, half it goes through. The north part is all sort of like very much, there's more sort of grass and more plain area for horses and stuff. And that's where they have like dairy farms. That's where the original population that lived there were Mongolians, like Gao Yang. And he's just attacking him, like, that's not caring about what his opinion is. And they actually experienced the Zunga genocide. The entire population there used to be, well, most of the population, not entire, sorry, exaggerating there, were Mongolian. And they were massacred by the Manchurians. So he's actually descended from people that got genocided. And
Right.
I don't think he would take that very lightly to deny something, as simple as that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they just all keep piling on him, every time he talks about it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be coming at those guys forever. And I noticed they're kind of picking up their attacks on Grey Zone.
Oh,
yeah. So I think
definitely the best dressed out of all the journalists.
Man, those guys are pretty cool, actually.
They all look very good looking. Like, I would just go out there, Ben Norton, good looking guy. What's the other guy's name? Alex Rubenstein. Blumenthal, yeah.
Agent cool. Singh is good, and I've been listening to Aaron Marte's got a podcast as well, which is pretty good.
Dan Cohen, yeah. It's just surprising. They're obvious targets. People are calling them, just anti-American, which is really interesting. They're apparently that's really bad if you're anti-American. When America
should be anti-American.
Yeah, man. If you're not anti-American, then what are you? Like,
yeah,
pro-America, then you're pro-genocide. Yeah, you're a genocide pro-genocider. Yeah.
All right. So the other thing we wanted to talk about, a story from, it popped up in a feed for a funny reason. So let's quickly talk about, I don't know, did you see that story about the two Chinese students who snuck out to go to Macca's?
Oh, those cunts. Yeah. Fucking,
Dumb.
yeah, dumbasses. Yeah,
Melbourne is in a COVID lockdown at the moment. You're not supposed to leave your house
after 8
for
p.m.
really. And this is like 2:30 in the morning, and they're filming themselves, which is even more stupid, and dancing and
showing off. It's like, this is my
they
city,
were.
bitch.
Yeah. So anyway, that what they did got picked up on this WeChat group called SOS AUS or SOS Australia, I guess. That WeChat group picked it up, and then these two clowns, had the good sense to hand themselves into the police. But that brings us on to let's talk about this group. You want to introduce it?
Yeah, so I actually know this group because I tried to write an article about them back in 2016 when they first established. Well, it was around sort of 2015, 2016. There was a sort of a lot of sort of crime communities were targeting Asians because they don't really, there's this consensus Asians don't fight back. They're easy targets, and they always have iPhones, the newest versions. So they all went down and, they were hanging out in Box Hill and mugged Chinese people. And Chinese people were called the cops. The cops would just sort of, write a ticket and be like, might come back to you someday. Who knows? So Chinese people got really angry and they started setting up these sort of community vigilante groups. And some dude basically registered a organization called SOS Australia, and they basically operate in WeChat groups. I joined one, just to have a look. And I'm like in the 47th group. So I'm guessing there's hundreds of them.
Right.
And one guy would basically say his house getting broken into. He would post to the group, and that message spreads across all the groups. And anyone near that would drive their cars or just go to that house that's getting robbed. And just man up, like gang up on the robber. It's kind of vigilante justice. Yeah.
That's the extreme side of it. There was also wholesome stuff on there. Like I think someone got a tick bite and they posted on there, and someone who knew about that stuff went around and helped out. So
yeah,
in a way, it's also like your Facebook suburb group. We have lots of them. When I lived in Anley on Brisbane's south side, typical neighbourhood, dog biting a dog or dog pooing on my front yard. But has a Sudanese community, and a lot of bored housewives would see a group of black teenagers walking up the street, and they'd think that'd be something they'd post. So these community groups have a positive function, but they can also be a bit, the extreme is the vigilantism, I guess.
Yeah, and also there's a lot of conservative politics and sort of law and order candidates being endorsed in these groups. So I think I saw last election they were endorsing a lot of right-wing or centre-right candidates like Gladys Liu, because she was talking down tough on crime. Matthew Guy, I don't know if you know him, he's a state candidate for the premier, and he was all about anti-African crime kind of justice. He lost by a huge margin though. Yeah.
He did.
But still, that's what's kind of happening a bit in the last few years for that group, and haven't really done anything of note, but they've given a sense of community and safety for the Chinese community, I guess.
I think this group exists shows there's been a failure of the government to address the issues that the Chinese community has down there.
Yeah, that's what they said, because they said that police don't do anything. They just write a ticket, do some paperwork, and sort of call it a day and collect the salary.
I've had my wallet stolen, and I went to the cops, and they're like, that sucks. They would not do anything. That's the same cops in any country. They don't give a shit about something like that. So then this is the natural result, isn't it?
It is. It's just sort of our law enforcement is. I mean, it's something you really can't do anything about unless you have super strong evidence on knowing who stole it, or I guess.
Yeah, you can't be going. I think we can't be certainly going around apprehending anyone we suspect, or even going around to another house that's been robbed. I think maybe to go around and comfort someone who's scared. If you're in I know, an elderly couple and your house has been broken into and you don't have family members that can come around and be like, yeah, it's going to be okay, or
I think it's more an insinuation that a lot of people have had towards these groups because it's Chinese and there's a lot of them. That potentially could be a united front, kind of setup where the Chinese Communist Party is actually directing, their war front, which is laughable. Yeah.
Yes, that is an implication that I got from this article because I've not seen any similar reporting on, Anglo-Australian Facebook groups like that. A little bit of yellow peril in there, as everything in Australia has.
Yeah, anything Chinese is bad,
Yep.
It's like I saw that statistic where they were talking about foreign investment. For some reason, Luxembourg is ahead of China. Because everyone's using Luxembourg as a tax haven, of course, but not.
Oh, is that why it is?
Yeah, I mean, I doubt all 500,000 people in Luxembourg is investing here, or are they?
Well,
It's like Ireland, but smaller, like a tennis court-sized country.
Yeah.
It's not that small, actually, but yeah.
Because I think I saw one that was comparing different countries' farmland owned in Australia. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. And even Hong Kong itself has bought in China, which is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just one city.
Hong Kong, Singapore was up there as well.
Yeah. But I guess that probably, if you're a bogan, you would just probably put Hong Kong and Singapore in a separate as China. So you're like, yeah, same guys.
I think now they would be.
Yeah. And though they would protest very harshly, especially the Hong Kongers, they would protest. They're like, no. That's what I wanted to talk about was Yongden Latu, that guy, the Tibetan editor for 7 China Morning Post.
Oh yeah, because
he's like Go Young, he's also a minority, but he just gets attacked if he does not follow the mainstream sort of American policy of anything has to be anti-China.
James Palmer, someone had a go at him.
Yeah, that's what Go Young had a go. He told him to fuck off when he said something.
Right. Okay. Yep.
And we were talking about then. That reminds me. You said something with Yongden a few days ago. What's his name? Griffiths, the editor for CNN in Hong Kong, had a go at Yongden Latu.
Okay.
And he's Tibetan, and it's just like, it's just weird. Like they get really angry at these minorities when they don't follow what they want them to be, like victims. Yeah. Yes.
No, that's a good point. The victim thing. They can't have any agency of their own, can they?
No, they gotta be victims. And that's the other part about David Roffe. He's being attacked, saying that he's not giving them agency. Even though David always gives agency. Yeah, that just pisses me off. You need to watch Isabel, whatever her name's interview. Her accent is so grating. It's like it's from Downton Abbey.
Right.
Yeah.
So she's trying to get a job on the BBC. Something like that.
Yeah, but it's worse. It sounds like she's trying to snoot your way up. Like she will be that person in Hong Kong, be like, "Excuse me, Joshua, pass me the tea." It's like it just sounds really up her nose, like a bloody dirty pom. I mean, no offense to Pom. I mean, Jerry's a Pom, and sorry, Pom is slang in Australia for a British person.
I wonder if she's got some sort of embarrassing, but what I would think is a cool accent from London. Maybe, a bit of a chav, and
and she faked it. It's just like James Palmer who faked his Cambridge accent. Yeah, I'm only surprised to see. Yeah. So her accent's not even like that. It sounds like she's condescending on you, like you're not worthy of her time. Yeah, but yeah, her publication got outed out for basically being funded by the National Endowment for Democracy.
Oh, really? Coda Story?
Yep.
So do you know where Coda Story is based?
New York. Yeah, they are. So they got a few $100,000 from Ned. So it says here on their own Ned's website, 2020 Ned grantees win European Press Prize. A Ned grantee with newsroom in the Republic of Georgia and New York, Coda Story, won the Distinguished Reporting Prize for The Week of Women Fighting China's Surveillance State by Isabel Cockrell,
All right.
That's her claim to fame. She's winning Ned prizes, literally state regime change prizes right here.
She needs to have the new little labels they have on their Twitter accounts. She needs one to say
media, American state media, whatever. Yeah.
Yes. Right. That's making a lot more sense now.
Yeah, that was being posted everywhere, just like that Adrian Zen's one where he wants to put Jewish people into a furnace if they don't convert at the end times.
Yeah, where are these crackpots coming from?
Yeah, and I'm just like, this guy's literally a Holocaust pusher. Holy shit.
Yeah, that dude's wild.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to be this century's, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, Solzhenitsyn. Yeah, Solzhenitsyn, the guy who wrote the Gulag Archipelago. Who's also a crazy religious guy who was super anti-Semitic.
Really?
Yeah, most people don't realize that.
Like, I knew he was a bullshit artist, but I didn't know he was anti-Semitic as well. Wow.
Yeah, he's pretty rough. So, yeah. But that doesn't matter. All Zens probably thinks that in 60 years' time, he will be that hero reported in inverted commas. Sorry, I realized you couldn't see it.
I mean, it's going to be in 5 years' time. Like there's definitely 100% there are the camps are happening 100%. But the thing is, the genocide that's what Brophy's been saying. It's like you can't exaggerate what's going on. But the thing is, it's going to be like that in 10 years' time. They're going to be talking like this as in Iraq or Libya, because the mass exaggeration. There's definitely state repression of Uyghurs, and there's definitely racism against Uyghurs in China, but genocide is that is very far.
It sounds like it's an extreme security state there. Lots of racial profiling going on, and even Jerry said in his interview with Coda Story, he would not want to be a Uyghur living there right now.
Same as Carl said as well. He's like, there's definitely a lot of profiling. Like, Uyghurs can't, get into certain hotels or places sometimes in the big cities. They get profiled. Yeah, and it's horrible, and that's stuff you should be reporting on, not like, saying they're getting what's happened in the Holocaust, because that's also really offensive to people that did experience genocide. I mean, I saw some. There was another story. Someone told me yesterday that someone called Zara Larsson. Apparently, she's a musician, and she got banned from Apple Music in China. But I've never seen anyone in China use Apple Music, so I'm just like, what?
Right.
But yeah, I think that's it for today. We've been talking to Chow Collective, Shong Kun, next time around.
Looking forward to that. Yeah. All right, thanks for listening, guys. Peace out.
英雄花间意，歌曲人影稀。谁知明日时分里，台上望真心。唱一曲别离，谁在君怀里？昨日相依，今夜又相离，各临笑泪滴。一出悲喜，众里佳人老矣。为戏幕里英雄美人在交替，笑谈千年。